Alright, so it's cleaned up now, we can see things a little better. So I mentioned before that this was loose. It seems like the steering bar is loose on the spline, not the actual shaft, so that's actually probably a good thing. The other thing I found interesting was if we come over here, looks like an attempt to repair a big old crack. It seems to be holding though, so I don't think that we're going to scrap this whole casting because of that at this time. So, let's start taking the power steering unit apart. Alright, so now that this is off, we're going to start by disconnecting the lines from the valve to the ram. Everything looks like brand new, which is awesome. So you can see here that the spline is just very wore out. Not great, but not tragic. I think there's a good chance that at least part of this leak's coming from the lower oil seal around the shaft. The next thing we're going to do is remove these two screws to take the bottom retainer plate off. Plate. Very thin paper gasket. Get it off without tearing. Great. There's a steel one. Yep. So it looks like it's two papers and steel. Ooh. Bottom thrust bearing's pretty loose. Top one's pretty good. That's your main shaft. There's a piece of steel that's pressed into That's a piece of steel they press into the iron as a raceway for the bearing. That's actually in pretty good shape. There's a piece of steel pressed into the retainer cap too. Also looks pretty good. Bearings might still hang on. We'll see. Next, what we're going to do is pull the ram and the rack out, and that'll leave us with just the idler gear left in the casting. Idler gear's looking good. Get that out of the minute. First I'm going to take the cover off the rack adjustment cover. The rack adjustment cover, just 4 flathead cap screws to remove. Except for one, those were basically finger tight. Which might explain another source of the leak. Got some more brazing on that piece. It's the guide for the rack. Always comforting to see brazing. Anyway, all we gotta do now is remove the pin and the idler gear, and that'll be a complete disassembly on this. This is your pin right here. It's held in place by that little retaining clip. So to remove this, they put threads in there because it is a slight press fit. So you take a screw, make yourself a little slide hammer. That was an inappropriate gesture. Alright, so there you have it. That's the disassembly of the major components of the power steering pump on the D17. Right now I don't know if I'm going to have to take apart any of the sub-assemblies any further, like the ram or the control valve. We're going to get them cleaned up and take a look at them before I decide whether or not I'm going to start ripping those apart, because there's some tight tolerance parts in there, and anytime you take something like that apart you run the risk of wrecking it. But for the start, we can at least clean up the main castings and get everything cleaned up, ready to go. And about the only thing I'm worried about yet is the condition of the control valve. The ram was in pretty good shape. And we did find some old farm type repairs on here with the brazing.
and just some other loose connectors on there that might have been the cause of our leak. But like I said, there was so much crudded oil everywhere on this thing that I couldn't tell which one was the cause of it. So we're just going to make sure we do our best to clean it up and seal it up tight so that we don't have this problem anymore, since we're this far anyway. Thanks for watching, guys. Stay tuned for more.